My name is Ray. Together with my sister Tsuki, we work at a small cafe in the city. It's not just a job. Sometimes, it feels like a stage for strange things. That morning, I put on the classic black and white uniform. The air smelled like coffee and warm bread. Tsuki tied her silver hair into 2 messy buns, yawning every 5 seconds. She looked tired, as always, but when she smiled, it felt warm. The cafe opened, and the first visitors came in. A couple ordered cakes, a group of students laughed over milkshakes, and an old man just sat in the corner, reading his book with tea. I greeted everyone kindly, and Tsuki quietly carried the orders. She doesn't talk much, but she has a soft heart. But soon, she started teasing the guests in her own way. When one student asked for extra sugar, Tsuki raised her brow and said, "Sweet enough already, don't you think?" Everyone at the table laughed, and even the boy turned red. Another time, she served coffee to a young man and said, "Careful, it's hot, like me." The whole cafe burst out laughing, and Tsuki just smirked and walked away. That was her charm, calm on the outside, playful when she wanted. Meanwhile, I spent time with the children, who came with their parents. One little girl asked if I could draw a smiley face in the foam of her hot chocolate. I tried, and the result looked more like a potato with eyes. She laughed so hard she almost spilled the cup. Later, 2 brothers were bored waiting for their cake. So I folded napkins into funny shapes. A rabbit, a boat, and something that looked like a dragon. They clapped and begged for more, and I couldn't help but laugh with them. These small things made the cafe feel alive. Not just a place to eat and drink, but a place full of smiles, jokes, and warm moments. Once, a woman came in with her dog in a little red sweater. The dog sat on the chair like a person. Tsuki looked at him and whispered, "Finally, someone polite in this cafe." The owner laughed so hard she almost dropped her purse. Another time, a businessman ordered 3 cups of coffee for himself. I asked, "Busy day?" He sighed, "3 meetings." Tsuki, without missing a beat, said, "3 girlfriends." The man choked on his first sip, and the whole table next to him started laughing. One old lady came every week for the same apple pie. She always said, "It's too sweet," but she never left a crumb. Tsuki once asked, "Should I make it bitter for you next time?" The old lady hit her with the spoon gently and smiled. I also loved the little games with kids. A boy once challenged me to a staring contest. I almost won, but then his ice cream started to melt all over the table. We both screamed, and his mom rushed with napkins. It turned into a mess, but everyone laughed. There was also a little girl who wanted to help me. She carried a tray with 1 cookie on it, walking so carefully, like it was gold. When she reached the table, she bowed like a waitress. The family clapped, and she looked proud like a queen. Sometimes, even the mistakes were funny. Once, Tsuki mixed up 2 orders and gave a man green tea instead of black coffee. He sipped it, frowned, and asked, "What is this?" Without blinking, Tsuki said, "It's a new secret drink." The man shrugged, drank it all, and later said, "Actually, not bad. There was also a funny moment with coffee foam. I was making a cappuccino, and the foam suddenly rose too much. It overflowed and looked like a mountain. A kid shouted, "Volcano." So I put a little cookie on top and said, "Now it's an island." Everyone laughed, and the kid kept pointing at it, saying, "Best volcano ever." Time passed, and the place filled with voices, clinking cups, and the smell of chocolate pies. Everything was peaceful, until two strangers walked in. They didn't look like normal guests. One had a strange grin, the other looked around too much. Something in my chest whispered, "Danger." Tsuki noticed it too. Her red eyes sharpened, even if her lips kept that lazy smile. They sat down and pretended to order, but instead started to make noise. One kicked over a chair, the other shouted at the old man. People froze, worried. The atmosphere turned heavy. I stepped closer with the tray. My voice was calm. "Please, sit down. You're disturbing the guests." But they only laughed. Tsuki sighed, stood, and walked over. I knew that sigh. She was ready to act. And just when the men tried to push her away, something unexpected happened. A drop of blood, left from a small cut on my finger earlier, had fallen on the floor near their table. One of the troublemakers stepped on it, slipped, and crashed down into a chair. At the same moment, Tsuki waved her hand, and a small puff of smoke burst into the air. A playful trick. The man coughed, fell again, and the cafe filled with laughter. The second criminal tried to run, but stumbled too, this time on the same spot. Now everyone was laughing, even the old man with his tea. The owner of the cafe, who had been watching with worry, finally smiled. "Enough," he said. "You're not welcome here." The two men, humiliated, rushed out the door. Silence lasted for just a second. Then applause filled the room. Guests laughed, clapped, and shouted, "Good job." Tsuki, still holding a tray, whispered in my ear, "Well, that was fun." In the end, the owner gave us a whole pie as thanks. We walked home with smiles, the warm pie in our hands. And for once, even Tsuki's tired eyes shone a little brighter. That day, our cafe felt not just like work, but like home.